All right, we are live. Just checking the
What's
feed.
up, tribe? I am just going to refresh the pages. It is, what day is it? Thursday, the 3rd of February here in Sydney, Australia. Here is the live stream. My name is Yanni Baumeister, in case we haven't met. To my left is Richard Lellies, aka Richie the Rig, one of our head coaches from Unity Gym and the Unified Movement System, where we teach driven people how to become strong, flexible, and super fit. Now, I'm just getting these streams up on my screen. I'm doing something quite incredible. I've switched from Mac to PC and I'm just getting used to it. So bear with me. My God, it's done this whole screen thing again. Okay. How is everyone? How are you, Richie?
Good. Ready to rock and roll. Today we are talking about how to train with tennis elbow again. It's a very common issue among tennis players and gym goers. Really, it's it's referred to as gym herpes because it's so commonly gotten and so hard to get rid of. So, and it's a common topic that we talk about a lot. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, quickly, before we get started, big shout out to Ricky Webster, coming at us from Birmingham, Alabama, USA. Amazing part of the world. Smash that like button if you're on YouTube, everybody, and let us know in the comments where you are, where you're tuning in from, and also if you're on Facebook, tuning in the Movement Mastermind Facebook group. We've got Will in the chat, our customer support and coaching manager. And we got a big announcement to make. Big. We're going to hit this off straight away. We are launching the second flexibility 5-day flexibility challenge. We had a lot of people who couldn't make it in January because we were, a lot of people don't come back to work in January. So we decided to kick another one off early in February. We're going to be kicking that off on Monday, which is going to be, what's the date today? It's the 3rd. So it'll be the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. Monday, the 7th of February here in Sydney, Australia, which will be Sunday for Canada, the USA. And it's going to rock. We just watched a video put together of all the testimonials, spliced together from all the testimonials of people raving about the breakthroughs they had and how much they learnt during the 5 days in January. All of you who missed out on the January, it's free. Remember what you have to do. 3 things. You have to jump into the Movement Mastermind Facebook group. You have to be part of that Facebook group because that's where we will invite you into the private 5-day flexibility group, challenge group. 2, you have to send an email to will@unitygym.com. I'll get Will to add his email address in the comments on both Facey and in YouTube so that you've got a direct, you can just copy and paste and register with Will, and he will reserve one of the 100 places. And third, you have to make a donation to Beyond Blue, which is a mental health charity here in Australia. Or if you want to make a donation to a local mental health charity, you can, but you have to show us proof of that. We don't make anything for this challenge. We give our time away for free, but we do raise money for mental health. It is a very, very important cause for us personally, but also for everyone. Everyone going on, what's going on in the world. Mental health has become a really big issue again, and it can be $1, it can be $100, it can be $1,000. In January, we raised over $2,000. It became a little bit hard to track accurately because we did have some people from the UK and the United States wanting to donate to a local charity, and we couldn't track that. But they send us a screenshot with their proof of donation. So that's all we ask, that you make a small donation to the charity and you're in. So get there. Steps 1, steps 2, steps 3. Will, please put them in the comments, the 3 steps to get in, and we will get this cracking. All right. Ricky's quickly said here, what do you use the most for strength training? Kettlebells, free weights, or machines? Okay, I'll answer that in 1 second or less. Free weights. I love kettlebells, but they do not come anywhere near free weights. And machines are great as supplementary or complementary to free weights. They're very useful for bodybuilders, very unpractical for functional strength and or flexibility. And so we use free weights. Barbells and dumbbells make up
I
the majority of our
always
training.
considered kettlebells to be part of free weights, right? Because it's not really
Yeah,
an
I
apparatus,
agree.
it's not a machine. Yeah, so they kind of fall into the same category. But
Yeah.
if you're referring to free weights as dumbbells and barbells, then probably those. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And that's a good segue into training and the discussion today, because really what we're talking, we're answering a question from one of our legends in the Movement Mastermind Facebook group, who has dived into, he's suffered quite bad lateral epicondylitis, which is tennis elbow tendinopathy of the lateral epicondyle, the tendon insertion into the elbow. And he has had two different types of surgery. We spoke about that yesterday with our resident physio, Phil White. It's quite common. It's a lot more common in the United States to have surgery for tendinopathy. It's very uncommon here in Australia. They don't do it very much. And quite frankly, I'll go out on a limb here and say, because it's really, I don't think, very effective. It's an issue with connective tissue healing incorrectly from an abusive load and an alteration of the proteins in the tendon. And to cut it open and to try to remove that scar tissue creates more scar tissue. So it's kind of like an oxymoron, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't make it. The notion of removing scar tissue by creating new scar tissue, just a different type of scar tissue, doesn't really add up to me, and nor does it to our physiotherapists over here, and very few surgeons really recommend it, except in elderly people who really don't exercise. Then I've seen it done before, and that's because they weigh up the pros and cons and say, okay, maybe this person might get a little bit of satisfaction out of it, and it might make them a little bit more mobile and a little bit less pain. But the way to overcome it is absolutely the right exercise, the right load management through exercise. And surprisingly enough, what we've found over the 2 decades of coaching people dealing with our own tendinopathies is that it's usually a different dose of the exact same exercise that gave it to you that is the best course of action. Now, what we do in our forearm tendon rehab program, forearm and elbow rehab program, is we regress back to making sure we cross all the T's and dot all the I's in. Have we got enough load capacity in forearm flexion? Have we got enough load capacity in forearm extension? Have we got enough load capacity in supination and pronation under load? Have we got enough load capacity in pinching? Have we got enough load capacity in crushing, so grip crushing? And have we got enough load capacity in grip extension? And if we can cancel out all of those, then we start to introduce an increased load capacity in, I'm trying to get my arm in the shot here. It'd be easier if you went to a full screen, Richard. Elbow flexion and elbow extension. And then we start to look at, okay, in compound complex movements like chin-ups, are we recruiting with the scapular musculature to ease the load in the elbow? Because if you're doing pull-ups and bent rows and seated rows just with the elbows, then it by nature is overloading that elbow. And so this is how we start to train it. That one of the biggest mistakes that people make, and one of the leading causes of forearm and elbow issues in the gym when we're strength training, is a dysfunction in the shoulders. And not a lot of people address that or know how to address that. Generally, if we've got high functioning shoulders, so they're nice and mobile and we can comfortably elevate, depress, protract, and retract the shoulders under load, then when we do our pulling movements, and hopefully you guys can sort of see this, if we do a bent over row, we initiate through the shoulders before we bend break at the elbow. And if we do a chin up or a lat pull down, we initiate through the scapula, the shoulders, before we break at the elbow. And what that does is it disperses the load. so that the load isn't always coming through the gripping muscles. You're creating inertia, and that little bit of inertia that's created takes enough load out of the forearms, out of the elbows, so that we continue to train well under the right conditions. If you've just got piss poor load management, meaning that you just don't understand how much load capacity your body's got at any one time, and you're constantly overdoing it, breaching your load capacity by doing too much volume, too much frequency, too much weight, or just too difficult or complex exercises for where you're at, then of course you're always going to run into problems. And that's where good programming and coaching comes into play, and experience, trial and error as well. But I say the most important, aspect of going from that rehab program to now, how do I carry over into my training in the gym, which should happen as soon as possible, because we don't want the rest of the body to become weak at the expense of you rehabbing one joint or one area of the body ever, because that just creates problems all over the body. So as soon as possible, under the right guidance, we want you back in the gym. We want you lifting weight, but we want to do it to meet the needs of the most compromised area. So if your compromised area is your forearm and elbow, then you're lifting weights that suit that area at that point in time, which might mean that you're not able to do full body weight pull-ups. It might mean that you're not able to do full range pull-ups or a pull-up with a certain grip, but you just have to work around it. Find the grip that doesn't cause you too much discomfort. Find the range that doesn't cause too much discomfort. Find the load, the intensity, how much weight you carry that doesn't cause too much discomfort. Richie, do you have anything to add?
So if you're a tennis player and you're thinking, how do I get rid of this thing? And you're not training in going to the gym and using your body in other ways, and you're training quite regularly during the week, tennis, then that's a big issue with recovering it, or it sticking around. Like, you can't expect the change in the tendinopathy to happen unless you're changing something about your routine. And for tendinopathy, you really need to target it in a specific way, without making it worse, with resistance. And you just simply can't really get that if you're only doing tennis. So that means you need to take a step into the gym, but at the same time, you don't want to do the gym too much. Otherwise, you could just make it worse by overtraining still. So yeah, tendinopathy of any sort is a pretty tricky one, because it can stick around for a while, and you tend not to see a full recovery for months, because of the nature of how tendons heal. Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And
it's not just for
it is.
people with. It's not just. I mean, what we're talking about is not just for people that are doing regular gym training, but also people that are doing the sport that creates tennis elbow as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And that's actually just very quickly, because we'll wrap this up and get into our peak performance coaching daily coaching session in a sec. That's how I got tendinopathy in the forearm the first time. I was
Mm,
training 5 or 6 days a week in the gym, and then my inner circle of friends started to play golf. This is a decade ago, and
mm,
I wanted to start playing golf, and I'm very competitive. So I thought, all right, if I'm going to be able to go out and play golf with guys that have been doing it for longer than me, I need to go and learn. And I hit the driving range regularly, a couple of times a week, and then would play 18 holes on a Sunday. And it was just the introduction of a completely new load above and beyond what my regular routine usually included. And I didn't reduce the amount of stimulus in the gym. I didn't stop training all my strength training and flexibility training. And now on Saturday and Sunday, when I was usually recovering or resting, Saturday was usually always just some squatting. So my forearms were getting largely a recovery day or a day off. Now I introduced driving range on Saturday, which is very, very heavy on the forearms, and then a round of 18 holes of golf on Sunday. And within a month, I had the most intense golfer's elbow you've ever bloody seen. And I ignored it for too long and just tried to train through it. didn't adjust my load, manage my load based on the fact that my forearms were just blowing out, didn't reduce the amount of volume I was doing, and it got so bad that I couldn't train for a while, which was the worst thing to do. I was told by a physio to not train, to give it a rest, and then I took three or 4 weeks off the gym and 3 or 4 weeks off golf. And when I came back, it was worse than it was before the 4 weeks. And it wasn't until I started to work with a better physio that I learned, okay, abstaining from exercise altogether is actually almost as bad as just continuing to exercise and ignore it. And
Mm.
because what happens is everything gets weaker and weaker and weaker, and the issue is caused by a weakness, an
Yep.
inability to handle the amount of load you've given it.
Yeah.
So,
Tricky.
it's a tricky one, and we're going to
Yep.
continue it tomorrow. I think we can continue this tomorrow, because it's a really good discussion, and a lot of people need to know this stuff. So, guys, one last time, I really wanted Will to put in the comments the 3 steps of how to join the 5-day flexibility challenge. It kicks off on Monday the 7th. That'll be Sunday, the 6th in the USA, Canada, and other parts of the world. It'll be around 5 o'clock in the evening for you guys in the USA and Canada. East Coast, West Coast, it's a few hours apart. But yeah, get into it, guys. There's been a lot of great breakthroughs. The very first step is that you have to join the Movement Mastermind Facebook group. Step 2 is to send Will WILL at UnityGym, UNITYGYM.com, an email to let him know to reserve one of the 100 places. When then he will invite you into the private group, and then you've got to make a donation to Beyond Blue, which is a mental health charity that we're supporting over here in Australia. As I said, we're giving away our time for free. We're raising money for mental health charity because it's a very, very important cause. And we hope to see you in there. You'll have a breakthrough. I'll guarantee it. It's a fantastic workshop. All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you, Richie.
Thanks, guys.